Hi everyone, welcome to our channel, Rebecca Stew and the Crew. I'm Rebecca. Today we have a Dollar Tree DIY for you guys for fall. So let's go over the supplies we'll need to create them. So for supplies for the first one, we will need one of these wooden cutouts from Dollar Tree. That's the turkey. We'll need some black chalk paint. We're also going to need a paintbrush. And then either a Crafter's Square chalk writer or a paint marker, or you could use the Dollar Tree vinyl. We'll need some ribbon, some of the berry garland, and some greenery of your choice. We're also going to be using a pair of scissors and some hot glue. So let's get crafty. So for project number one, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to paint this whole thing black with the chalk paint. Now I am using the Waverly chalk paint, but that's okay. You don't need to use that. The Dollar Tree chalk paint I like a lot. I just ran out of it. And I did have this one, so I decided just to go ahead and use the one that I had on hand instead of buying another one. But the good news is they haven't had the chalk paint out for a couple months now, and they just restocked it. I was there yesterday, and they had a whole bunch out at a few different Dollar Trees that I went to this week. So they do have it out. So we're going to paint the whole entire front of this turkey with the black chalk paint. We're going to also make sure that we do the edge. And then once it's dry to the touch, we're going to go ahead and flip it over and paint the back. I always like to have my projects finished on both sides just so I know I can hang it or put it anywhere and not have to worry about what it looks like from any angle. So you can choose to paint the back if you like, or you can leave it the way it is. It's really up to you. So while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the word thankful and some leaves on my Cricut on the Dollar Tree permanent vinyl in white. Again, if you don't have a Cricut or a cutting machine, that's okay. You can actually use scissors to cut this out, or you can use a razor blade and use it kind of like a stencil if you like. You can draw it on with like a permanent marker or something first. It's really up to you. Or you could just use some Dollar Tree stickers. Again, you could use their paint markers or a chalk writer to write on this, or you could just use white paint. It's really up to you. There's lots of different options you can do for this project. So now that I have the word all cut out here, we're just going to go ahead and stick that on. Now I'm using this masking tape on top. I should have taken the tape and laid it on the table a few times to get some of the stickiness off of the tape, because it was a little bit stronger than I thought it was going to be. So I did struggle a little bit getting it back off of the vinyl. I actually ran out of my transfer tape, which I just used the Dollar Tree contact paper, the clear contact paper. So after this, when I put the word thankful on, I actually had to go pick up my daughter, and I swung into Dollar Tree real quick and grabbed a roll of the clear contact paper to put the leaves on, because as you can see, I was struggling a little bit to get the vinyl off of the tape, especially because I didn't help myself by getting some of the stickiness off of the tape. So I knew better. I was just in a hurry because I knew I had to leave soon to get my daughter. And so that's on me. So just be mindful of that. If you guys try this technique, definitely get some of the stickiness off by taking the tape and laying it across the table a few times and peeling it back up to help make it not as sticky. But in the end, I was able to get it off, and crisis averted. I was able to get the whole thing onto the turkey here. I did have a little bit of a mess up down here at the letter L, but I was able to take the little picker and lift up on it. And then I was able to smooth it out. Okay, so then I ran out to the store. I was able to get the clear contact paper. And I really like the contact paper anyways. I like being able to see through it and know where I'm going to be putting my different pieces on. So for the leaves, I definitely recommend not sticking it right to the wood. So kind of play around with it, move it around before you stick it down, so you can, make sure that you have it placed where you want it to be. And then, of course, if you don't have the vinyl stickers here, you can use, there's lots of different fall stickers out right now at the Dollar Tree. They even have those wood stickers that they have out. They have little pumpkins and leaves that they have out every year. They have those out as well that you could use, and you could paint them white if you like, or just leave them natural wood or different colors. It's really up to you. So there's lots of different options. I just chose to use this coloring because it matched my decor. So this is a very simple project. I wanted to do a project that anyone could do on a weekend, especially after working all week, that was quick and easy to do, but still relaxing. I know crafting makes me calm and definitely makes me feel relaxed, and that's needed sometimes. Everything's kind of crazy lately, but since I only did this one, it was a kind of a really quick craft to do. I was like, oh, I'm going to do another craft and I'll do 2 in this week's video. And then I kind of fell behind schedule. And so that's why this video is going out a little bit late, because I insisted on doing 2 different projects for this video and time didn't really allow for that. So I had some poor time management skills here. So now that all the words are on, we're just going to go ahead and make a little bow here. The best way to make a bow so that the 2 tassels on the bow hang down is just to make 2 loops and then tie those together. And then you'll get the 2 tassels at the bottom to go straight down instead of sticking out to the side if you tie it like you're tying a pair of shoes. So that's my little tip for the bow. And then we're just going to angle the little ends here. And we're not going to glue that on quite yet because we're going to put a few leaves over here. I had some of this lamb's ear. I actually got that at Walmart for $2. It has a whole bunch in it for the $2 price point. And I just pull random leaves off when I need them for different projects. So for this one, I'm just going to use 4. I did 2 on each side of the turkey here. And then we have that green and white berry garland from the Dollar Tree that they had out this fall, which I absolutely love. So I'm just going to wrap that around the end of a paintbrush to curl it up. And then we'll stretch it out just a tiny little bit and we'll glue that right to the center. And then we'll take that farmhouse ribbon from Dollar Tree and we'll glue that right to the middle. Now this came with a twine hanger. I cut that off so I could paint the turkey, and then I had some white yarn, so I went ahead and added that as the hanger instead, just because it matched and kind of tied the whole thing together. So now that we've replaced the hanger, we'll cut off the excess, and that's the first project done. Like I said, this one's really easy. It's a quick, simple project to do, but something that you can do on the weekend and get the whole thing done without having to worry too much about time constraints. And now we'll move on to our second project this week, which is going to be the supplies for this gnome and a pumpkin. So we need a pole noodle, 1 foam pumpkin. We'll need 1 foam bead. We're also going to use some of the floral craft foam. We'll need some of the floral wire. I'm also going to use the berry garland again and some different ribbon of your choice that coordinates with your floral. We'll need some felt and some fur. We're also going to use some pom-poms, the little ones, and then some different floral that coordinates all together. Some greenery. And then I'll use one of these die-cut leaves, and we'll need the large craft sticks. I'm also going to use 2 of these wood craft cubes. We'll need a paintbrush. I'm going to be using this Tuscan teal, antique, brown, white chalk paint, a little bit of pink, and then we'll need some scissors, a craft knife. I'm going to use these dog nail clippers. You'll see why in the video, and then some hot glue. So let's get crafty making our second project. So I actually ordered these all white pumpkins from the internet, from Dollar Tree. You only have to buy 4 at a time. And they're really nice because they don't have that plastic coating on the outside. They're just plain foam. And I'm just going to cut the top off. If you want, you can smooth out the edge with a nail file just to make it look a little bit smoother. You probably won't see it though, so it's really not a necessary step. And then we're going to paint the whole entire pumpkin with this white chalk paint. So what I like about the plain pumpkins that don't have that plastic coating on it is you can paint these with paint and it doesn't smear. It doesn't give you that like streaky look that the orange ones do. So I really like them a lot. So you're able to go ahead and put the all white paint on all the way around. And then we're taking just a tiny little dot of that antiquing paint and just going in between the grooves of the pumpkin. And this is going to give us some shadow type effect to help make the pumpkin look a little bit more realistic. So the pumpkin is still wet. I didn't wait for it to dry, and I'm using the exact same brush that I used to paint it white in the first place. That's just helping to kind of smudge it all together and blend it in. If it doesn't seem like it's blending very well, then go ahead and dip your paintbrush back in the white paint just to keep it damp so you'll be able to blend it out and not have some dark brown lines kind of all through your pumpkin. You definitely want to blend it out into the grooves there so it looks more natural. So now, like I said, I'm going to use those blue leaves in my project here. So I'm going to use a little bit of this dark blue paint. And we're going to add a little bit more color just to the top here. It's just going to be like kind of like a hint or a shadow of the blue. When the whole thing is said and done, it really doesn't show up all that much, but you can see just a hint of the blue kind of underneath the layers of paint. And I just really love the way it turned out. So we're just going to streak on some blue paint at the top, and then again taking that large paintbrush that we had with the white paint on it. I still haven't cleaned it. We're just going to go ahead and blend out these blue lines. Now, after I blend out the blue lines here a little bit, my paintbrush started to get a little bit dry, so I dipped it in the white paint just to help blend it out. As I worked in sections around the pumpkin, I go about halfway down with the blue. I ended up going back in and taking some more antiquing wax, and I did a little bit more in between the pieces of the pumpkin after I had the blue on, and then I went back in with a little bit more white and just kept blending it out in layers until I had a nice light blue effect with the shadow and the white on the pumpkin. So it looks a little bit blue at the top right there. I wasn't too worried about what the top looked like just because I knew it was going to be covered with a bunch of flowers. So now taking the top of the pumpkin that we cut out earlier, we're going to paint the stem blue. And we're going to do some lines around the top of the pumpkin and the edge because we're going to use this in our project here to make it look like the elf just, cut out that pumpkin and put some flowers in there. And it's kind of, sitting on the edge of the pumpkin. So I just like the effect with the top of the pumpkin there all painted like the pumpkin. So now we're going to take this pool noodle. We're going to cut about 1 inch off of the top. And then we're going to measure and cut a piece of foam that's going to go down inside of our pumpkin. You want it flush with the top. So then we'll set that aside for a few minutes. We're going to cut down our piece of felt so that it's a perfect square. We need it to be a perfect square so that we can fold this over to create a triangle. We're going to take some hot glue and just put a bead of hot glue down the one edge and bring the other corner over to create this triangle. And then you open it up, and this is the shape that you'll have. And then you're going to cut along the bottom of it to create a hat. So now we're going to flip it around so that the seam is on the inside of the hat. And then just poke something in the top there to help get it all the way out. And trim up the edge if you have to. Now my battery died, I didn't realize it. So you just take a piece of that craft wire and a rectangle of the felt, and you're just going to roll it around a few times in the wire to cover up the wire with some hot glue. And then for the ends, these are going to be our arms. So for the ends, you're going to put a pom-pom for a hand, and then you're going to wrap a piece of coordinating ribbon around the edge between the sleeve and the hand to make a cuff of the shirt. And it kind of helps blend it all together so you can't see the rolled up edge of the felt for the arms. So then take your craft bead that you have for the nose, and then you can paint it any color, like flesh color that you like for the nose, and then use the same color and just dab it onto the pom-pom so that you can do the hands in a flesh color as well. So this fur that I have, this is left over from a Christmas Santa hat from last year from Dollar Tree. And if you don't have any of that left over from last year, that's okay. You can buy this fur at Hobby Lobby. It's on sale quite frequently, and they have a bunch of different colors. So we glue that to the pool noodle. You do want to let the glue cool down for just a second before you attach it with the glue, so you don't want to melt your pool noodle. Attach your nose, and then for the hands, you just want to add some hot glue there. You're going to let it cool down again for a couple seconds so you don't melt your noodle, and then you're going to glue it up towards the front of the noodle because, of course, these are his arms. And these will be under the hat. You just bend the arms at the elbows, and then we're going to start gluing the hat on. So we're going to put the glue right on the beard. You don't want to put it directly on that pool noodle. It will melt it again. So then hold the hat in place so it kind of comes down over the top of the nose and the arms. You want to hold that in place until it dries, and then flip it over. With the back open, go ahead and take whatever you have on hand to stuff your hat. I'm just using some excess felt that I had from the piece that I made the hat out of. Then put your glue on the felt, not the noodle, and then let it cool down for just a second, and then attach your hat the rest of the way around. Once you have your hat attached and it's dry, then go ahead and add a piece of ribbon to do the brim of the hat all the way around to tie it all in. And you can use the same technique on the top of a lid of a jar to do candy jars. I made a video doing that last year for Christmas. So here's what it looks like so far. And now we're going to take that berry garland and we're going to wrap it around the hat. So we just add a little bit of hot glue to the top of the hat, and it does have a wire, so we just pinch it together at the top, and then we're going to start wrapping it in a spiral diagonal all the way down, and then the very end of the berry garland, we're just going to tuck that into the brim of the hat and attach it with a little dot of hot glue. So we just put hot glue on the bottom and the top. And then we'll make a very simple bow and glue that to the top to hide the glue of where we attach the berries. Now we're taking 2 pieces of ribbon and we're going to let the glue dry just a little bit and attach that to our pool noodle. This will help us to glue it to the pumpkin without melting all the foam. And then we're going to take 10 of the large craft sticks from Dollar Tree and we're going to glue them on top of each other until we have a nice thick, kind of like a dowel rod. We're using that for, and then we'll stick that into the pool noodle. Now add some glue to that ribbon and then attach it to your pumpkin, and that helps so that it doesn't all melt. Now we're going to take some of that floral foam and cut it down, and we're going to use those as shims to put between the pumpkin and the pool noodle to help keep it in place nice and tight so that the pool noodle doesn't fall out. We don't have to use any more glue. Once it's in there pretty tight, you can tell because it's hard to move it around and it doesn't feel like it's going to just pop out. Okay, so then at the top of those craft sticks, you're going to put some hot glue just on the end there. And then once it cools down just a tad, you'll slide this up inside of the gnome into that little hole in the pool noodle that is up inside of the hat. And this helps him sit kind of high so he doesn't fall down into the pumpkin. Now just put a little bit of hot glue onto that toothpick on the top of the pumpkin and stick that in over at the side. And then those dog nail clippers, see how easy those cut through the wires for these flowers? They're perfect. They're way better than the wire cutters that the Dollar Tree sells. So I highly recommend them. They also cut through dowel rods really easily as well. So once we have those all cut down, we're just going to add our flowers, our leaves, and a bunch of greenery all around the back and around the sides to cover up the back where those popsicle sticks are. And you want to fill it in enough that you're not going to see that. And so you have a nice flower arrangement all behind him. So at first I was going to put some leaves in his hands and I ended up changing my mind. I used something else. So then I made some legs, so it looks like he's sitting on the edge of this pumpkin. So you just want to wrap some wire in some of the felt and then fold it in half and then wrap the end of it with some of the ribbon that coordinates with the sleeves. And then you paint a cube from the Dollar Tree, one of those little craft cubes, brown with the black line at the bottom just to look like a pair of shoes. And then you'll glue those together and slide those up underneath of the beard and just glue those right to the pumpkin. Here's what the legs look like. He's holding a little die cut leaf from the Dollar Tree. We just dry brushed some white paint on it, and this is the whole thing completely done. I love him so much. I think he's so cute, just kind of sitting there chilling out with the pumpkin and some flowers. And of course, I love the turkey as well. I hope you guys do too. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please check out some of our other DIY videos. We post those every single Thursday. And every Friday, we post what is new for the week at the Dollar Tree and popular restocked items. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And here are those other videos from our channel that you might also enjoy. Have a great day, everyone.